Hello everyone, today is my only full day in Kagoshima, so I'm looking forward to making the most of my day. First things first, I gotta head down to breakfast since the Shiroyama has the highest rated hotel breakfast in all of Kyushu. I just got a variety of foods from the ginormous buffet. This has got to be one of the biggest hotel buffets that I've ever seen, and they even have made-to-order food as well. I'm going to be starting off with their omelet, which was made to order, and this is just piping hot. Oh, this omelet is delicious. It's perfectly fluffy, and I like how the eggs are cooked through, which is not super common since Japanese omelets tend to be on the watery side, but I actually prefer them like this. And there's also onions, ham, and cheese, and it's all cooked in butter, so it's definitely a little bit rich, but it's nice that it's not too large. Another made-to-order food I'm really excited about is their French toast, which they just flambéed. Well, this is nice because it's not too rich. They just got the bread and they dipped it in egg and they fried it in just enough butter to cook it and just caramelized the outside, and it's just covered in maple syrup and powdered sugar. But I love this, not overly buttery, and it's also not overly sweet either. I also ordered a little bit of bonito with dressing. The bonito is decent, it's seared on the outside and the inside is still raw. It has a very soft texture, but in my opinion, it's a bit on the bloody side. However, I do like that they serve it with a little bit of onions and lettuce, which really cuts it and kind of turns it into a salad because it really tones down some of the strength of the fish. Speaking of fish, I also got the grilled flatfish. Oh, the flatfish is nice. It's just a very mild tasting, flaky white fish covered in sweet soy glaze. I also got their grilled mackerel, which is one of my favorite Japanese breakfast staples. That is really nice. It's so fatty and oily. I just feel like all of the oil coating my lips. And I really like the fishy taste because it's like a good type of fishiness. It just tastes so rich and flavorful. You just get a bite of that with a little bit of rice. That's a great breakfast. Pasta is also a popular Japanese breakfast dish, so I got their mentaiko pasta that's topped off with pork. That's pretty solid. It just tastes like buttery spaghetti noodles, and then it's topped off with some smoky ham. However, I don't really taste the mentaiko in there, but it's still not bad if you're looking for a nice substantial pasta dish to go with your breakfast. There's also fried vegetables, and this just looks like some sweet potatoes. Oh, that is definitely going to be a problem. That is addicting. It's just crispy, greasy tempura on the outside, then the inside is just fresh sweet potatoes. So it's just a really heavy and rich bite, but it is so tasty, and I could definitely see myself going back for more. They also have homemade fried fish cakes. Oh, the fish cakes are lovely. They're just lightly fried on the outside, and these are not greasy like the tempura was, and the flavor is so nice. It's a little bit rubbery and bouncy when you chew it, but the flavor is not very fishy. In fact, you can barely even tell that you're eating fish at all because of how fresh it is. I also got a couple of bakery items. I got their croissant. That is one impressive croissant. I consider myself to be quite critical when it comes to croissants since I'm very picky about how they're made, but this one definitely passes the test. It's light and airy and crispy on the outside, ultra flaky, and they use plenty of butter as well. They also have a variety of cakes, and I just got their strawberry cake. The cake is quite interesting. It almost tastes like a cross between a strawberry cake and a strawberry bread. So in my opinion, it is a little bit dry. And I think the best way to eat it is to toast it just with a little bit of butter on top. Yes, and I know what you're thinking. You're probably wondering, how in the world am I going to toast that bread? Well, they already thought of that, and they have a huge amount of toasters right next to all the baked goods. They also have this cute little dessert as well. Wow, that is pretty intense for a breakfast dessert. On top, you have a dense, really sweet vanilla pastry cream that's so rich and fatty. Definitely taste the fat in there. And then beneath that, you have a light, fluffy white cake. I think the Shiroyama definitely lives up to the hype for having the best hotel breakfast in Kyushu. They definitely have the best selection for the most amount of different items. I feel like I could just live at this hotel for a month and not try everything on their breakfast menu. Now I'll be taking the City View bus to the Sengaen Garden, which is the top sight to see in all of Kagoshima. I just entered the Sengaen Gardens, and by the entrance they had a little bowl of candy as a thank you for coming during the rainy season, and thankfully it isn't raining today. And that's just lemon candy. This garden has been a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 2015, so I'm just gonna take a walk around. After walking around the gardens, I decided to stop at the cafe for a cool treat, so I ordered their kakigori that is topped with milk and fresh fruit. Our shave ice just came out, so let's just get a taste of the ice on top. It already feels really light and airy. Wow, the condensed milk syrup on here is so rich and sweet, definitely creamy, and just combined with the ice, it almost just tastes like you're eating an ice cream. The fruit on here is also frozen, so it adds a nice crunchiness to this, and overall, it's a great place to stop at if you just want a quick dessert or drink a tea, especially after walking around the gardens on a hot day. From the gardens, I'm going to be taking a taxi to lunch, since the restaurant I'm going to closes fairly soon. This is Mekimon, which is a popular conveyor belt sushi shop, and what's really surprising is it's only 1:30 p.m. on a Wednesday, and they close at 3, yet there's still a 30-minute wait, but I just decided to wait, and then we're gonna have a feast. The first one I want to start off with is this roll filled with this special looking silver fish, and this type of fish can only be eaten in Kagoshima because it's highly perishable, so I'm excited for this Kagoshima specialty. That is awesome. The texture of that fish tastes like a cooked mackerel, even though it's raw. It definitely has a natural oiliness to it as well, and a rich, savory flavor. Even though I forgot to dip in soy sauce, it still tastes great without, since you got the shiso leaf and ginger on top. We also got some unagi eel. That is incredible unagi. The best thing about it is there's almost no bones in it at all, since unagi is notorious for having very small bones, and on top it's just a blowtorch, so it has a crust and a char on it, which just elevates it further because there's so much sweet sticky sauce all over the sushi. Another one of my favorites is minced tuna, and it's topped with a healthy portion of green onions. It has an ultra fresh cut of tuna. It's really ridiculously smooth, and I really love when it's chopped up like that because it just kind of dissolves on your tongue and you really don't need teeth to chew it at all. It just except for the rice and the seaweed on the outside. We also have a plate of what looks to be mackerel. That is definitely mackerel. It's definitely a bit on the fishier and more stronger side just because it's such a strong tasting fish. However, I do like that they apply plenty of wasabi underneath. It kind of counteracts some of that. But personally, I do prefer mackerel once it has ginger and green onions on top. I also got the ultimate trio: tuna, lean tuna, medium fatty tuna, and the ultra fatty otoro tuna. Let's start with the lean tuna. That lean tuna is quite tender for it being a lean cut, and the great thing about that lean tuna is because it's not rich, you can really eat a lot of those and not get overly full. Now for the medium fatty tuna, and this one I usually find to be a pretty well-rounded cut. The medium fatty tuna, I feel like, is always a crowd pleaser. It's just enough fat to coat your tongue and give you the great rich tuna flavor without being overly heavy. And I already see all of the tuna fat is just kind of melted into my soy sauce, since there is a layer of natural oils floating on top of my soy. My all-time favorite cut of sushi, however, is the otoro super fatty tuna. Oh wow, the otoro is just like seafood gold. It's just really rich, and it's almost completely white because of how much fat is in there. And it's definitely a heavier cut, but you definitely have to get that whenever going to a sushi shop. This is one of the more unique types of sushi that I've seen. This is eggplant sushi. So it's just rice wrapped in seaweed and then topped with 2 thick slices of eggplant. Oh, the eggplant sushi is a great option. After eating a lot of the fish, their mouth might start to get a little fishy and gross, so it's really nice to have something different to change things up. What's also interesting about this is the rice isn't vinegared at all, and then it's just topped with like stir-fried eggplant, and then with a miso sauce on there and sesame seeds. For my last sushi roll, I decided to go for something pretty light. This is just a cucumber roll, which is 1 slice of cucumber wrapped up in seaweed and rice. You can't ever go wrong with the kappa maki. You just get the chewy rice and seaweed on the outside and a crisp, fresh, and light cucumber in the middle. This is a really great refreshing dish, again, just to change up the palate a bit. That was a great value conveyor belt sushi lunch. For only about $40, I got enough sushi to feed 3 people. I can definitely see why this place is so popular. They use high quality local fish, and this is just so much better than any of the large conveyor belt sushi chains. This is definitely a unique and delicious conveyor belt sushi shop. After walking into downtown Kagoshima, I came across these 2 statues right behind me. Sakamoto Ryoma was a well-respected and well-loved man in Japan, and these statues are meant to represent the first honeymoon in Japan that was taken by him and his wife in 1866. In fact, I tried out the hot springs for the first time yesterday when I soaked in an onsen at my hotel, and it was actually a really great first experience. I was quite nervous about experience, and I didn't want to do it at the beginning because I was nervous since in Japan you have to get naked when taking these public baths. However, it was a really great first experience, and it actually felt really nice because I was able to enjoy the hot water and take in a great view of Kagoshima. I just made it back to the hotel, and I can't believe how much smoke is billowing out of Sakurajima. I really hope it doesn't erupt right now. I mean, just look at that. That smoke cloud really stretches out from the very top of the volcano, and it looks really dark just as it's billowing out. I mean, just looking at this really makes me wonder who in the world thought of building the city of Kagoshima right next to this giant volcano. Now I'm going to be heading off to my final dinner in Kagoshima. I'm going to be having black pork shabu shabu. I just ordered my Shabu Shabu course. I got their original Shabu Shabu course, which comes with the slices of Kurobuta black pork, as well as assorted vegetables and soba noodles. Before they brought out the Shabu Shabu, they brought out some small sides. This is Japanese spinach. That almost tastes like a Japanese spinach salad. It has a bit of a creamy sesame dressing, and that's really light and refreshing, and I think that is much needed considering the shabu shabu is probably going to be quite rich. They've also brought out a tonkatsu cutlet, so it looks like I'm having tonkatsu again. Wow, the tonkatsu here is a lot different than the tonkatsu I had yesterday. They use a really fatty cut of pork, so it is quite heavy and rich, but it does mean this pork is extra tender. They just brought out the raw pork now, and it's sliced paper thin, just like how shabu shabu should be, and now I'm just gonna lightly cook it in the boiling water. We're just gonna give it a little dip into the boiling water with these cooking chopsticks, and then we're just gonna swish it around lightly until it's cooked. And it actually cooks quite quickly because this is just boiling away. And just like that, this Kurobuta pork is perfectly cooked. They also give you a little bowl of broth on the side with green onions. Here goes my first bite of Kurobuta pork shabu shabu. Wow, that is incredible. That is clearly the best pork I've had in my entire life. No exaggerations. I can definitely taste this compared to the tonkatsu, that the pork is really high quality because it's literally just pork cooked in water, just with a very light broth and green onions, so you taste all the flavor of the meat. This to me definitely does taste 4 times more flavorful and juicy than regular pork. I mean, it's so thin, it's literally like the texture of Wagyu. The second it touches your tongue, it just vanishes like a magician did a magic trick, and it just leaves behind a rich, sweet, porky flavor. And sorry if the camera gets a bit fogged up, because I mean, this boiling water is just steaming away almost like an onsen bath. After polishing off all the pork, it's time to cook our vegetables now, and they're just going to be cooking in such a rich and fatty pork broth because almost all the fat has just rendered out of all the slices of pork that I've cooked. So now the broth is almost like a ramen broth, and it's really going to flavor all these veggies. This one is just like Japanese spinach. You know, if you don't like spinach, I still think you're gonna like this. Since I dipped it in my broth has just been rendered down from all the cooking and eating, so there's just a thick layer of fat. So basically, once I dipped my spinach in there, it was just like dipping it in rich, 4 times more flavorful Kurobuta pork fat. So it just intensified the flavor and made it really tasty. They also brought out what appears to be pork meatballs. Wow, that is so simple. It just tastes like plain brown pork shaped into a meatball, and because it's so rich and fatty, it's just really soft and kind of mushy in a way, but it's really pleasing and easy to eat. For the grand finale of the meal, we have soba noodles, which are just gonna cook in the same broth that the pork and the vegetables did. So this is just gonna be really heavy, really rich, and just absorb all the last bits of that precious pork fat. Let's just go for these soba noodles now. Hopefully I don't burn myself since they're still steaming hot. These are very unique tasting soba noodles. I've never had anything like this before. And what I noticed is they kind of remove the whole of the buckwheat when they make these soba noodles, so there's no graininess to it at all. And it also means it's lacking that really rich, nutty flavor, so it's much more mild and gentle. Because this soba has a much more mild flavor, it really lets you taste that aromatic flavor of the pork, and then you also get a crunch from all those green onions that have just been soaking in your broth. To finish off this incredible, gigantic course meal, we have a top tier dessert, pudding. Oh, that is a sweet, light and gentle banana pudding, and then on the bottom, you just have a burnt sugar syrup. That is an awesome sweet treat just to end off this really heavy and delicious meal. This was just a gigantic amount of food and a huge feast. There's so many different small dishes that I didn't even show on camera, but there's just a massive amount of food. Perhaps the most unbelievable thing that I really don't understand is how affordable it was. It was only 26 US dollars because of the conversion rate for that huge, gigantic feast that I honestly couldn't even finish. If you only have one meal in Kagoshima, this is the place that you must go to. After eating here, you will never look at pork the same again. I've made it back from one heck of a day in Kagoshima. Even though my time here was limited since I'm leaving tomorrow and I only got here yesterday, the memories from this trip are gonna last a lifetime. Anyways, I really hope you all enjoyed the video. Make sure if you did, give it a like, and also make sure to subscribe. And now I'm just gonna head down into the onsen and relax for a bit, and I'll see you when I go to Tokyo tomorrow.